Right, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome for joining us for another session of Conscious Living Toolbox, where we come and dive into the energies of the day and into the topic. And today is facing uncertainty, which is relevant for every single one of us. If it's not for the main aspects of our life, it could be for any area, whether it be relationships, where we are, finances, it could be anything. Facing uncertainty is a major obstacle, which or challenge, not an obstacle, it's a challenge that we all face and that we all will overcome because we've overcome so many uncertain times before. Hello, Reina. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's always a pleasure, everyone. Thank you. And hello to everyone watching us live or on replay.
Amazing. So, when it comes to uncertainty, life is always ready to throw us challenges at the most unexpected times. And when we show up as we do on every single day, it requires a different aspect of ourselves to face uncertainty in a way that really helps us to see it through a different perspective, because we can either see uncertainty through the eyes of, okay, it's going to drown me, or it is making me stronger and is preparing me for the next stage of my life, right? So in the sense of transformation, Reina, would you say that uncertainty is a um, a helping hand, or is it something that actually um, slows us down?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it depends where you are standing. You can see it from both those perspectives. I think the major thing to keep in mind when you face uncertainty and change and rapid change, as normally what happens if one things go down, then everything else that is not aligned comes down at the same time. It's very important to listen to the guidance, especially if you are a aware person and if you want to live your life consciously and you ask for your guidance from the divine, then be aware of the signs. Now, of course, your monkey mind is straight away gonna question, is like, oh, okay, but no, maybe it's not time yet, or maybe, it could be related to house move, it could be related to vehicle, relationships, anything that, anything in your life. So it's important to listen to the guidance and to follow that through, because it's okay not to follow it through. The only problem thereafter will be that you will fall into struggle and you will be the main reason for that as well. So one is, this, to see it as a new beginning, to see it as a stepping stone, and to come from a perspective of appreciation. Thank you for everything that is happening. It is working out for the best of all, especially when you have set your intention. And if you set that high intention for yourself to live from that space of the highest version of yourself as well, I find that everything and anything that is not aligned is just gonna start fall into its place, into its new place, So as human beings, and I me included as well, I sometimes fall back into the habit of procrastinating or struggle, martyr mode, which is not serving me. And then if you go more in tune with yourself, you might see it, which normally this is, as a challenge to try you out. Now, challenge to try you out in terms of you've asked for it. So now the universe is trying to see how you would act, from which space you would act. Would you act as an older version of yourself, stressing out and, being so stressed and anxious and worried? Or would you act from a perspective of a higher version of yourself, the best version of yourself, accepting and appreciating all there is, so you can move through that change and that transformation in the smoothest way possible. It is difficult. Let's say it's not easy, but again, it's a matter of perspective. If we have full faith and trust, we don't need to know the house.
Yeah. One thing that comes to mind is when I think facing uncertainty is like a crossroad. You can either go this way or go this way, whether it be mental, spiritual, emotional, or any way that life can take you. But because we are having a physical experience, and uncertainty is an physical experience, right? So it comes down to full faith and trust in your ability to make it, right? And because we are sovereign beings, meaning that we are the ones that's supposed to take control and to say, okay, are we going to go right, or are we going to go right, or are we going to go left? Right? So one thing that this new energy that we are in requires from us is that trust. We won't know. It's like we're driving at night, there's fog, we know there's a turn coming up, and we know we need to go to a destination, but we don't know exactly what the destination is, right? And we don't have a map to follow, and we know there's a split in the road. Which way are we going? And this requires trust with the divine spark within us, our intuition and our intuitive knowing. But we will only know which way to turn once we are at that conjunction where it's best left or right. Before then, we can choose either to stress or to be a wrecking ball along the way, and causing our own stress if we know that we'll only know once we get there. So yeah, it's really required feeling into it, that we will know the answers once we get to the point where we need to make that split. So facing uncertainty really can be done from a space from within, but it also requires us to not be naive as well at the same time, and be realistic about it, and really say, okay, where are we going? Where do we see ourselves to be, see the outcome that we want to be, and then go towards that direction. We don't know how the road looks in between, as you mentioned, the how to get there, but as long as we have a picture of X on the map that says, okay, this is where we want to be, and then you can either blaze your own trail to get there, or follow a road that's already there and hope for the best and see what experiences life brings to you in the process.
Absolutely. It is very important, as you mentioned, the vision of what is it that you want to experience, and how you see yourself experiencing and living from that place of experience as well, even though it has not already anchored into this now moment, into your physical reality. Because I have a feeling that, things have already happened, and we are kind of waking up to the memory of, oh, hold on a minute. So this has already happened, but I'm not quite there yet in my physical reality. So we're just following through. It's like a multidimensional approach to living your life as well, right?
Yeah.
So it is really interesting, but yeah, definitely, I think a lot of people still, they don't know what they want to experience. And this is a major stress in the life, because if you don't know what is it that you want to be, or how you want to live your life, your outcome, then it's really wandering around and trying different things. So if we get a clear on the what is it that we want to do, be, and then live from that space emotionally, because we have that choice within, and we have that freedom within ourselves to be either slaves of the stress, or to turn and shift stress into an excitement. And don't beat yourself up if you don't sustain this vibration of excitement at all times. I've been I'm going through, and my family is going through a lot of change in the moment, and I am having that highest vision for us as well, and for myself. Though there are moments where my brain is sabotaging me, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I welcome you. I welcome you. I'm gonna show up even though I don't feel like showing up. I'm gonna make that step even though I don't feel worthy of that in that specific moment of time, because my little piece of my mind is trying to sabotage me. But that's okay. It's all part of that human experience. If you don't get aware that this is what's happening, how can you change it? So it's very, very you drop that stress then. It's like, okay, there is nothing to stress about. Always good, always good. And there is absolutely every time something to be grateful for, even if this means that it's your own precious breath. This is just, enough.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say hello to Sam. She just popped into the comment. She said, hey, Ruan, and hey, Reina. So, hello, Sam. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, so just on as you mentioned, that holding the highest vision for the outcome that you have, or just for the outcome itself, because we don't know the process and how it's going to unfold, but the outcome, it's our responsibility to create that vision and hold that vision and how we want to see it. But then another aspect which comes to mind is the opportunity that uncertainty brings, right? So in the case of because uncertainty comes from when we moving from where our comfort zone to an uncomfortable zone, right? But this uncomfortable zone is it's a gold mine, right? Which with unexplored caverns with you don't know what gems are you going to find in there. So uncertainty provides the space for new opportunity, new relationships which you can build, and to start a new chapter, or maybe even a new book in one's life. So one could choose to say that, okay, is it the end? Is the beginning of the end, or is it the end of the beginning of something, or the beginning of something new, basically?
Yes, yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, absolutely, it does. And it is definitely such a great opportunity, especially if you wake up to the, oh wow, look at this opportunity that it has created itself, because I have set up my own intention to live my life in a certain way. Because this can be a thought that you've had, an emotion in your body that you have had, that you have anchored from the divine. Like when you're daydreaming, for example, and you're like, oh, I just so much want this, and then it doesn't go unnoticed. So then it's like kicking off the process of, okay, I'll bring this to you. And then that situation of misfortune, if you want, it's exactly that void of all opportunities where you can create those opportunities for yourself. Absolutely. And we are creative beings. We are very, very creative beings. So you can definitely approach it that way, and instead of shrinking and contracting, expand yourself to that new, because there is nothing to lose at the end of the day, is there.
One thing that just came to mind is, if I had to think back from when I was younger, my childhood, and all the events that took place, that the family was whole in an uncertain state, right? And all the good things that came later on in life wouldn't have happened if those uncertainty didn't take place. So it's the uncertainty focus creates our vision to okay, the problem is a narrow, it's our vision becomes very pointed to the situation that we are currently in, to overcome it. That we forget the bigger picture, which is actually leading us in. So
definitely, yeah, definitely. If you go back to, exactly the same here. If I go back to, oh, why, certain things have happened, that there were challenges at the time, I wouldn't go back and change anything, because I wouldn't be this person now. My character wouldn't have built to this point. And I'm very content with my own transformation, and I'm trying my best on a daily basis, as we all do, right? So it's just amazing opportunity. And again, it's like the perspective, like where your mind goes. Like, if you have been experiencing a mindset that is not so positive or so not trustworthy to the universe and to the divine, maybe you will be in more struggle. But this is again a matter of choice. If you realize this and you say, hold on a minute, I have the power within me, therefore whatever happens, it doesn't matter. I have my health, I have so many things to be grateful for. I'm gonna focus on the great things in my life to be grateful for, and thereafter I have full faith and trust that it's going to work out. This doesn't mean that you sit down and wait for it to work out, because this is not how you create your own opportunities. But as we are creative beings, then set that intention for yourself. Okay, what is my next step? And your next step, if you are aware, that is going to anchor very fast to you as well, and it can come as a glimpse. So be aware, don't miss it, as it's gonna come again. But then you have to walk around the bush when you can cut straight through it.
Yeah. Yeah, and also one thing that we as humans like to do is really take the small things and make it big things in order to avoid the bigger thing, which is actually not as big of a deal than the small thing that we made a huge deal.
Absolutely.
So, and
fear is one thing that stops us, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's plenty of fear. And the times that we live are so incredible and full of opportunities to how we want to live our lives. But at the same time, as this has to disrupt the old systems and old energy, it's crazy times at the same time. So again, it's per perspective. And I think, the environment plays a massive role. The environment of the energy around you, people who live around you, the people who you talk to, and, all that stuff play a major, major role. Because we are very influential people. Like, we get influenced very easily, especially if it's something negative, because the negative energy, it's of a lower vibration. It can drag you down faster than when you are happy and when you have somebody that is, encouraging you to carry on and then, keep doing your best. So even if it's like a one sentence that you've heard from a neighbor, for example, it could play a mind game with you, and
because it
not
repeats basically in your mind the whole time, and you
absolutely.
creating something bigger from it.
Yeah, and especially if it is fear-based and not love-based, not trust-based, then it's not gonna serve us. But again, I think in every now moment we have that choice of waking up to the truth of what matters the most and who we truly are. Because if you see the bigger picture, as you say, then we can examine that, yeah, okay, this has happened, Say, for example, my car broke down, and so what? Is the end of the world? It's not. I'm still here, I'm still breathing. Or I need to move from my house, or I need to change jobs, or I need to, relationships breaking down, or whatever you're facing, that we make a big massive deal out of it because we are unwilling to let go. We are unwilling to surrender to the trust and the faith that we have somewhere, somehow set an intention for, as we have had this vision for the highest version of ourselves. So it's like a, domino effect. It's like you do there, absolutely, for every action, thought, or feeling, or emotion, there is a reaction after that comes. And we don't feel it straight away. This is the problem, right? You'll be like, what? Like, I had this dream. This dream meant something. It was a few weeks ago. It's like, now I get it, what this meant. So you might have even seen it in your dream state. It's really weird. But we don't pay attention to the things that they are non-physical, do we? Most of the time. You have to be really attuned. I think this goes down to the divine feminine. probably mostly done to the divine masculine, and have that fine balance of, balancing those energies. Here's a question for you.
Yes.
How do you, when you face this uncertainty and the world is crazy around you and you're like bombarded with all these things that you need to do and to fix,
Yeah.
to face, how do you go back in tune with yourself so you sustain that frequency?
Well, I think the first thing that we do as humans is react, because
React.
we have to react,
Mhm.
because we are chemical creatures, and in order to produce the certain chemicals within our body to sustain and see our subconscious, um, uh, the reaction that our subconscious already saw, that we
Mhm.
need to, how we need to face a situation, we need to react a certain way to produce those chemicals in order to sustain that whole outcome, envisioned outcome.
Mhm.
So the first thing is react. And then we're going to say, okay, are we going to stay in reaction mode and keep producing the same stress
Yeah.
hormone, because that's what reaction is? It's stress at the end of the day. And it's
Mhm.
natural. It is not a bad thing to feel stress, anger, anxiety, and all that emotions. Is not a bad thing, but it becomes a bad thing if we stay in it, because it
Mhm.
means the brain keeps on producing that chemicals. Then one, because we are influential beings, we can become addicted to
Yeah.
those chemicals in the long run,
Mhm.
and it can cause a chain reaction of events. So once you react, it's good, then come back to center and allow it to unfold naturally. Don't keep on reacting or influencing other people based on your reactions, because once you start affecting people around you with your energy, because you already are, but if
Yeah.
you're constantly in that reaction state, everybody's going to become in that reaction state because you're rubbing off on them, and then everybody's reacting, and because they're reacting, you're reacting more, and it becomes a time bomb, right?
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
to answer your question is, first, react. Two, let go of all expectations, all outcomes, um, any thought that comes to mind. If it's not serving um, the purpose, right? And
Mhm.
then look for what you can control,
Yeah.
because that is the thing that you are obligated to do, because that is your task to do, because you can control it. If you can't control it, then don't worry about it. Just leave it and focus on what you can control. So if the boat is steering towards a wall and the engine is broken and the steering is broken, what can you control? You can control the anchor, drop the anchor. If the boat crashed, you at least tried and to control what you can control by dropping the anchor, and then hopefully it will stop. But if you in reaction mode and say, okay, why is the steering not working? Why is the engine's not working? And you're still moving forward and you're not running towards the anchor, which you can control, then it is inevitable, and you didn't try everything to your best to control the situation. So that's just a metaphor that came to mind. Hope that
Yeah.
answers the question.
It is very good. My first thought was jump off the boat and swim. It's still part of reaction.
uh,
Beautiful. I love your metaphor. Yes, absolutely. So that's really great. So reaction is good. It's like showing you that there is something moving, something going on. Okay, cool. So react and then let go. Yeah,
yeah,
of all
and then
situation. See what you can't control, and then respond to the situation.
yeah,
Don't react.
yeah.
Respond. Then that's beautiful. Do you think there is more steps to that?
Well, yes, and then damage control. Once you respond and the situation is semi under control, right? Then is see what damages needs to be repaired. If there is a relationship that needs to be amended, or that's got like in the process of you responding, maybe you had to come back to the metaphor, you had to push somebody out the way to get there fast enough. Go and apologize. Sorry, I needed to do this in order just to amend that relationship, so that there's nothing left still wounded in the process and that's not addressed. So yeah, and then also see, is there any leaks that you might have missed along the way. So in uncertainty, for instance, let's say, all right, let's see where this lead takes me. So let's say your car broke down and you're in the middle of the road, and the car is standing in the middle of the highway and you don't know what to do. You're freaking out, right? And the adrenaline is already starting to pump because you are in that reaction mode. So now what can you do? Get the car off the road before you can do damage control. So then control that situation, because you can then obviously control the traffic, stop somebody if you're alone, stop the traffic, help them to control the traffic just so that you can move the car out of the road. And then once the car is off the road, thank the person for helping you, and maybe because they can even help you further, because that's how the
Your
universe.
breakdown cover.
Yeah, basically,
Don't
because
try this
that's
at
what.
home.
Yeah, don't try this at home. It's just a
Just a
a metaphor.
not advice when you break down.
Yeah, but it happens, right? Because the universe does send help in very mysterious ways, and some things happen for a reason that you do not react further, because the universe knows that, oh, we know, right, deep within that we are reactive beings. We want to react because it's in a way that we feel that we are in control, but meanwhile we are giving our control away by like reacting. Is like kicking in the air while you're trying to swim, but you're not you're not moving in the water. You're like staying in one place basically, and you're just tiring yourself out. And because that happens, certain situations happens to slow us down even more, until we realize, okay, but wait, I can float. Okay, and then once you float, then you realize, like, okay, let's give one stroke, let's move one bit forward, and then you start gaining momentum, and then just make sure that you are going in the right direction, and that's where the vision comes in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was so beautiful. I love how our lives are flowing in terms of we take a situation from our own lives or whatever has come into the collective, and then talking about it, discussing it, then this we start building the Conscious Living Toolbox in such a beautiful way that when you are in certain situation, you can pull that Conscious Living Toolbox and say, oh, I remember I heard this in a live that Ryan and Ruan were doing this and that. Am I responding? Am I reacting? Where am I in this process? And this is likewise helping us as well, me and you, Ruan, and helping everybody who are feeling guided to join these lives, whether now or further down the line. So this is such a beautiful experience that we're having. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's a pleasure. And this also comes back to filling our cups first. And Absolutely. This is just so that for everybody that's joining us live, the way that we do Conscious Living Toolbox is in a very authentic way. Like, there's absolutely the only preparation that leads up to this is, what time are we having this? And this is the topic. And then nothing, there's like no conversation about it, nothing. So that we can show up as our authentic selves and allow the space for what needs to come to the surface. And in the process, Reina and myself, we're getting topped up, and hopefully we are overflowing into your cups as well.
We appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for everybody joining us. If you guys would like to dive deeper into the transformational journey The link to our Patreon is down below. We got lovely sessions throughout the month. We got new moon sessions, we got full moon sessions, we got full moon coming up next week, which is going to be amazing, and really to dive deeper into where we are in this journey. And also, if you guys would like to sign up for our weekly newsletter, the link is also in the description below. Visit our website and sign up from there. And just know that we are all in this transformational process together, and we appreciate every single one of you for being on this planet and shining your light. Even if you're just here, you don't know what impact you're making just by being your authentic self. So thank you, Raina, for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. Until then,
Live long and prosper.